at a right circular cone, it appears to be a solid, continuous curve. But underneath that exterior, the entire structure is built upon a framework of just 3 interconnected lines. This diagram illustrates the basic external anatomy of that shape. At the very top is the vertex, the singular apex point. At the bottom is the base, a flat circular surface. Projecting from the center of that base to its edge is the radius, labeled as r. To measure height, we look at the right side of the diagram, where there are 2 distinct vertical measurements. First is the altitude, or perpendicular height, labeled h. This is the internal, straight drop from the vertex to the center of the base. The second is the slant height, labeled L, which measures the exterior slope-in distance from the vertex to the edge of the base. Confusing that internal straight height with the external slant height is the single most common cause of geometric errors. Differentiating these 2 lines is the first step to accurately calculating the properties of the shape. This cross-section shows exactly how those 3 lines interact. When you lock the horizontal radius, the vertical straight height, and the sloping slant height together, they form a right triangle hidden inside the core of the cone. Because these lines form a right triangle, the Pythagorean theorem defines their relationship. If you look at the panel on the right, you'll see how L squared equals R squared plus H squared. If you have any 2 of these measurements, you can algebraically calculate the missing third variable. That hidden one-dimensional triangle dictates every subsequent calculation. Both the 2-dimensional surface areas and the 3-dimensional volume rely on locking down those 3 primary lines. With the primary lines established, we can calculate the shape's 2-dimensional boundaries, starting with the lateral surface area. This is the total area of the sloping, curved outer shell of the cone, excluding the bottom base. As this diagram shows in step 2, finding the area of a curved 3D shell requires flattening it. If we slice a cone strictly down its slant height, it physically unrolls into a flat 2-dimensional shape called a circular sector. Moving to step 3, we see how the dimensions translate. The outer curved edge of this flattened sector is the exact same length as the circular circumference of the original 3D base. When we calculate the area of this specific sector, the math shows that lateral area equals pi multiplied by the radius multiplied by the slant height. This visual breaks down the calculation for total surface area. We take the unrolled lateral shell we just calculated and add the area of the flat circular base. Since the base is a circle, its area is pi times the radius squared. On the right side is the algebraically factored version of this formula. By pulling out the common terms of pi and r, we get surface area equals pi times r times the quantity of L plus r. This factored form is often faster for calculating whole numbers. The curved shell of a cone is not arbitrary. It is a predictable combination of its flat base and its unrolled slant height, dependent entirely on the one-dimensional variables defined earlier. Beyond the exterior, we must measure the 3-dimensional internal capacity, known as volume. This illustration compares the volume of a cone to a standard cylinder. If a cylinder and a cone share the same base radius and the same vertical height, it takes exactly 3 cones to fill that single cylinder. Directly below the cones is the formal volume equation. We take the formula for the volume of a cylinder, pi times the radius squared times the height, and multiply it by 1/3. Notice the warning highlighted at the bottom of the diagram. Volume requires the perpendicular height, the internal drop from vertex to base. Using the external slant height in this calculation will result in an incorrect volume. The internal capacity of the shape relies on the straight internal height, while the exterior shell is defined by the slant height. Differentiating these 2 physical realities is essential for choosing the correct formula. Let's apply these formulas to a construction scenario, calculating the fabric needed to build a conical tent. The orange logic checkbox on the right points out an essential constraint. Real tents sit on the ground and do not have canvas floors. This means we only need to calculate the lateral area, ignoring the total surface area formula entirely. In step 1, we use our given dimensions. We have an internal height of 15 feet and a radius of 8 feet. To find the required slant height for the canvas, we apply the Pythagorean theorem. Squaring 15 and 8 allows us to find the root and determine that the slant height is 17 feet. Moving through steps 2 and 3, we multiply pi times the radius of 8 times our slant height of 17. This results in a lateral area of approximately 427 square feet. Multiplying that area by the canvas cost of $4 a square foot yields the final material cost. Calculating the raw numbers is one part of the process. As the tenth scenario shows, you must also use situational logic to determine which parts of the geometric object are relevant to the problem. Calculating volume becomes more complex when you are only provided with external fragments, like a circumference and a slant height. This four-step matrix shows how to reverse engineer the cone. First, derive the radius from the circumference. Second, take that radius and the provided slant height, using the right triangle relationship to find the internal straight height. Finally, execute the volume formula. This summary table aligns the entire geometric system. One-dimensional inputs like radius and height are measured in linear units. Two-dimensional outputs like base and lateral area use square units. Three-dimensional internal capacity is measured in cubic units. Finally, this chart lists common pitfalls. Do not swap your height and slant height variables. Always divide a diameter by 2 to get your radius. And remember that in the base area formula, only the radius is squared. The cone is a hierarchy of dimensions. Understanding how these one-dimensional measurements construct two-dimensional surfaces and three-dimensional volumes allows you to navigate the relationship between area and capacity.